اختتام ألسنتنا يفقه قولنا. بسم الله.
بسم الله الرحمن بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فصل في وجوه البيان. Chapter with regards to the ways of clarification. البيان على 7 أنواع. That clarification is upon 7 types. بيان التقرير وبيان التفسير وبيان التغيير وبيان الضرورة وبيان حال وبيان عطف وبيان تبديل. First one is the bayan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this chapter is with regards to wujuh al-bayan. And normally when we speak, whether it be common day speech or whether it be legal, whatever the case might be, we use certain mechanisms in language, in any language, certain tools in the language to clarify to the audience what we are saying, or to explain to the audience what we mean. So this discussion is with regards to such parts of speech. And generally, there will be, like, you could say, 2 parts. You can divide what the person said into 2 parts. The first part is his statement to convey a particular message. And the second part is the bayan. In the second part, will either clarify or change, whatever the case is, the first part of the speech. Okay? So he says here there are 7 types. Other kitabs normally have 5 only, not all 7. So there's bayan al-taqrir, inshallah we'll explain each one as we go along. Bayan al-taqrir, bayan al-tafsir, taghyir, hurura, hal, atf, and tabdeel. Amal awal, with regards to the first one, which is bayan al-taqrir, qarrar yuqarrir al-taqrir means to reaffirm, to confirm. So as the name suggests, this is where the explanation which is given after the initial statement merely reaffirms or confirms what we already understood. So it doesn't actually add any more value to the speech, but it might just remove certain doubts or certain possibilities that might occur. The second of the bayan removes those possibilities or those doubts that might arise. But otherwise, it reaffirms or confirms what was already understood by the first part.
أما الأول is for the first one فهو أن يكون معنى اللفظ ظاهرا لكنه يحتمل غيره. This is when the meaning of the word is clear but it gives the possibility of something else, means to mean something else. But بين المراد بما هو ظاهر. Then he clarifies what is intended with that which is clear. فيتقرر حكم الظاهر ببيانه. The ruling of clarity will be established with his explanation.
Okay, like I explained. So this is where the word or the sentence is clear. It is clear, however, it has a possibility of a different meaning, a majazi meaning or something like that. Understand? There is a slight possibility that it might mean something else. So the listener, he clarifies what he means to remove that doubt, to remove any possibility that what he is saying might be majaz and so forth. Understand? So therefore, the clarity of his speech becomes confirmed through his explanation. Like I said, it doesn't add any other value to the speech. It doesn't change, let's put it that way. It doesn't change what he originally said. It doesn't change what he initially said, but merely confirms what he said. That's a very important point to keep in mind. The first two, bayan al-taqrir and tafsir, they don't change what was initially said. What was initially said remains exactly the same. There's no change to its meaning. مثال example لفلان علي قفيز حنطة that بقفيز البلد أو ألف من نقد البلد. Understand? That if someone says that for someone, owing to someone upon me, I owe someone a qafiz of hintah. What qafiz is a measurement in the past times, like how we have kgs and pounds and so forth. Nowadays they use qafiz. But the qafiz used to be different from one town to another. In today's time, you can probably understand it through the example of currency. A pound, for example, you get a British pound, you get the Egyptian pound, and so forth, or the dollar. You get the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, North American dollar, and so forth. Okay, I think Bahrain also was one of those countries also use dollars. Anyway, so so when a person mentions that word dollars or pounds in the country or in the city that he's in, naturally it's understood he refers to that country. If a Canadian person is saying it's $20, obviously he means 20 Canadian dollars. If an Australian says $10, he means Australian dollars, not American dollars. That's the most obvious possibility, isn't it? But because of the
Ji,
slight chance, outside chance that he might mean some other dollars. So that's why he adds بقفيز البلد with the coffees of this town. I said, so بقفيز البلد is merely emphasizing, reaffirming what we already understood by coffees الحنطة. Okay? So it doesn't change anything. We apparently understood that he meant of this town. Understand? But now by him saying it clearly, it becomes even more emphasized. أو ألف من نقد البلد, or I owe somebody 1,000, understand? And he adds that من نقد البلد. So من نقد البلد is بيان تقدير of the currency of this town or this city. So now again, without him having said that, that is what we have understood. But by him adding that, it reaffirms and confirms what we already know. فإنه يكون بيان التقدير لأن المطلق كان محمولا على قفيز البلد ونقده مع احتمال إرادة الغير. Why do we understand? Why did we already know that? Because when you mention something generally, then it applies to the coffees of that town, no other town, and the currency of that town. Yes, مع احتمال, with the possibility that it might mean something else. The coffees of another town or the currency of another town. فإذا بين ذلك, but once he clarifies and no, I mean this town, فقد قرره ببيانه, and he has emphasized and reaffirmed that what we already know through his clarification, through his explanation. وكذلك لو قال, and similarly if he has to say بفلان عندي ألف وديعة, that's to someone by me, indi. Already we did this, indi refers to wadi'a, is 1,000, then as a trust. So again, if he had not mentioned wadi'atan, that is what we would have understood because of the word indi, not alayya. فإن كلمة عندي كان بإطلاقها تفيد الأمانة مع احتمال إرادة الغير. Because the word indi, with its generality, or by its generality, gives us the benefit of amanat, tells us that amanat is meant here, a trust is meant. However, there is a possibility that he could have intended something else. فإذا قال وديعة, so when he says clearly himself وديعة, فقد قرر حكم الظاهر ببيانه, he has emphasized the hukam, the ruling of what was apparent in the first place through his explanation. Is that clear? It's pretty simple, straightforward. Okay?
Ji.
Shall we then carry on? Bismillah, next one.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فصل في بيان التفسير. Chapter with regards to the clarity of interpretation. وأما بيان التفسير فهو ما إذا كان اللفظ غير مكشوف المراد فكشفه ببيانه. As with regards to بيان التفسير, this is when the word is not apparent with regards to what it implies. Then he explained it, or he explained it through his clarification.
The bayan tafsir, fassar yufassiru tafsir, you know the word tafsir. Bayan means to make something clear, to make something apparent. So bayan tafsir, what is it? It is where the word, or there is a word in a sentence where it's not clear exactly what is meant by that word. There's slight ambiguity or unclarity in what he has said. So now he makes bayan himself, the speaker. He explains what he meant by that particular ambiguous word or that word which is unclear. He himself explains it, what he means by that. Now again, this will not change anything in the first half of the sentence. The initial statement will not get changed in any way, will not become different in any way. Again, that's an important point to keep in mind going forward. Why? Because bayan al-tafsir, as we mentioned in front, bayan al-tafsir and the one before this, bayan al-taqdeer, it doesn't matter whether the bayan comes immediately after or some time after, hour later, 2 days later, whatever. Why? Because it doesn't change anything. His explanation will just add clarity. It won't change anything. You follow?
Jim.
This is contrary to some of the ones that are coming in front, where it does cause a change in the speech. So there the ruling will be different. مثاله example, لفلان علي شيء. Somebody said that I owe somebody something. Now what is something? Something could be anything. Could be cash, could be kind, could be anything. ثم فسر الشيء بثوب أو قال علي 10 دراهم ونيف. Then he himself explains that by shay I mean clothing. I owe him clothing, for example, or money or whatever. He himself clarifies what he means. Or another example, he says علي 10 دراهم ونيف. The word naif comes to mean anything between 1 and 3, and it must be used with an even number. It must be used with an even number and means anything 1 to 3. So I owe somebody 10 dirhams plus some change, as we would say. I owe somebody some dirhams plus some change. Now how much? 11, 12, or 13? And obviously there's a bit of ambiguity there. How much over 10? How much more than 10? ثم فسر النيف, then he himself explains how much more. But he says علي دراهم. Then he himself explains that I know 11, or he says 12, or he says 13 clearly. Okay, third example, علي دراهم. Somebody says that upon me are daraim. The minimum amount can be 3 because it's jama, and the maximum could be infinite, okay, because anything after 3 comes under daraim as well. So how much do you mean? وفسر بعشرة مثلا. And then he himself clarifies and explains that no, I mean 10 dirhams, 10 daraim. Okay, so again, this is very, very clear, straightforward. He said something where one of the words was not clear, and then he himself explains, and then he removes that ambiguity or that unclarity from that particular word. Okay?
Jim.
وحكم هذين النوعين من البيان أن يصح موصولا ومفصولا. The حكم, the ruling of these two types, the first two, بيان تقرير and بيان تفسير, is what? That it is correct for you to mention it immediately thereafter or mafsulan sometime after. Then you can make bayan immediately or after some delay. Understood?
Jim.
Okay. Third one, Bismillah. We won't go very far here. Bismillah.
Okay, فصل في بيان التغيير, chapter with regards to the clarity of changing. وأما بيان التغيير فهو أن يتغير ببيانه معنى كلامه. As for بيان التغيير, this is when he changes with his clarification the meaning of his speech. ونظيره التعليق والاستثناء. Its example is the suspending and excluding. وقد اختلف الفقهاء
Bismillah. Okay, so
فصلا.
بيان التغيير, غير يغير means to change. So again, it's giving us a clue what this is all about. This is where the first statement, the initial statement, is bayan, changes the first statement. So he made a statement, but then he added something to that, which changed our understanding of that first statement. Okay? وَنَذِيرُ, so they say example, there are many examples, but the two popular ones are ta'liq and istithna. Ta'liq is where you suspend an action upon a condition. Like in دخلت الدار فأنت طالق, أنت طالق in دخلت الدار. So if we had just said in the أنت طالق, she would have been divorced immediately. Or أنت حر, the slave would have been, if divorced, I would have been freed, immediately, emancipated immediately. And then when he says in دخلت الدار, everything changes. Now she's not divorced immediately, but now it is pending upon the fulfillment of that shart. If she enters the house, then otherwise never. And same thing with the other, as understood, that's ta'liq, where you suspend the occurrence of an event on a shart, on a condition. And istithna is you have illa in the sentence. For example, if I say ja al-qawm, it is understood that everybody came. And everybody came. And I say illa Zayd, except Zayd. So I've excluded Zayd. So that changed the whole thing. From everybody coming to one or more persons being excluded. Okay?
Sure.
So these are two examples of bayan al-taghyir. There are other types. These are two examples of bayan al-taghyir. That is ta'liq and istithna. Now, وقد اختلف الفقهاء في الفصلين. The ulama have a difference of opinion in both masalas, the ta'liq and istithna. And by yeah fuqaha they mean the Shawafi, the Jumhur versus the Ahnaf. فقال أصحابنا, the Ahnaf say, المعلق بالشرط سبب عند وجود الشرط لا قبله. Our ulama say that action which has been suspended by a condition, which is pending the fulfillment of a condition, it becomes a sabab of the fulfillment, or it becomes a sabab or a mean of that action happening when that shart is found only, not before that. For example, if I say anti talikun in dakhalti dar, so the fulfillment of talaq will only occur when that shart is found, meaning dukhul dar. When dukhul dar is found, then talaq comes into effect, not before that. In other words, it is as if he didn't even say anti talikun. You follow?
Yeah.
According to us, it's as if he didn't even say anti talikun. Yes, once that shart is found, dukhul dar in our example, now anti talikun comes into play. You follow?
Yeah.
So the mu'allaq bi shart, the action which has been suspended by that condition in the khaditar, it becomes a sabab, meaning a means of that action taking place, talaq, when that shart is found, not before that. However, the Jumhur, what do they say? That action comes into effect immediately. But because the shart is not currently found, therefore it doesn't take any effect. So when it says anti-talikun, that talaq happens or occurs. But by adding in the khalti dar, because in the khalti dar is not found, dukhul dar is not found, therefore the talaq itself doesn't fall. It comes into being, but it doesn't fall. Okay?
Yeah.
Understand the difference? So we say no, it only happens. It's as if it's only saying it when dukhul dar takes place. The Jumhur say no, it happens now. But because the shart is not found, therefore the action, the mu'allaq bi shart, will also not be found. Same thing with istithna. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, wafa'idatul khilaf, what is the benefit or what is the outcome of this difference of opinion? وتظهر فيما إذا قال لأجنبية, this will become apparent if he has to say to a strange woman, إن تزوجتك فأنت طالق. If I ever get married to you, you're divorced. Understand? If I ever marry you, I'll divorce you. You're divorced. Understand? So they're having she knocked into his car in the parking lot, and he took off on her. Said, if I ever get married to you, I'll divorce. Understand? Or call it or it says to somebody else's slave, if I ever become your owner, I'll set you free. You're free. If I ever become your owner, you're free. Understand? Maybe the old master wasn't treating you so well. He said, yeah, my brother, I take pity on you. If I ever become your master, you're free. Understood?
Yeah.
So يكون التعليق باطلا عنده. So according to Jumhur and Imam Shafi rahmatullah, this ta'liq will be batil. Why? Because you can't tell, because anti-talikun comes into being immediately. But the lady that you're saying it to, she's not mahal. She is not an appropriate subject for talaq to take place. Why? Because you're not married to her. So the talaq just becomes null and void. Even if you have to get married to her later on, it doesn't make a difference. That won't come into play. Because at the time that you said it, she was not your wife. Same thing with the slaves or the slave masala. Okay?
Yeah.
But we say what? We say no. We say no. It doesn't come into being then. If the shart is ever found in Tazawaj to keep, at that time is as if he said anti-talikun. So if he was to ever marry that lady in future, she will be immediately divorced. And same thing with the slave. If he was ever to become the owner of that person, that slave will be free. You follow?
Jimala.
You sure you're understanding that?
I need to go over.
Maaf, can Moulana just repeat that last part?
Last part. Okay. So the last part is what? that according to that part from the Shawafi.
G.
The Shawafi says, remember their masala is what? In ta'aliq and in istithna. Both of these actions come into being immediately. But because the shart is not found, therefore it will not take effect. So now how does this play out in a masala? So it will play out in a masala in this way, that if a person was to say to a strange female, that if I ever marry you, you are divorced. So anti-talikun was suspended upon him marrying her. So because according to them, talaq happens immediately, falls immediately, as if he's saying it now. But because that lady is not his legally married wife, so therefore she cannot be the subject of talaq. So therefore it will become immediately null and void. Immediately and forever. Become null and void. According to the Shumur. Understood?
G.
Our masla is no. It only comes into effect when the shart is found. It doesn't come into effect then. Meaning it is as if he didn't mention it or say anything at that moment. It will be as if he said it only when the shart is found. So if he was to say this to a stranger, and I said at that time obviously nothing happens because it is as if he didn't say it. But if he was to ever marry her in this example, it is as if he is saying it at that time, anti-tarikun. So at that time when the shart is found, now anti-tarikun comes into play. Now anti-tarikun takes effect, so therefore she will be divorced. You follow?
G. Mala.
Understood that? You sure?
Sure.
Okay, we'll stop there, inshallah. They're explaining it in front, what I just told you now. And so we'll go over it tomorrow, inshallah, and hopefully we'll try to finish this third one. Bayan al-Tagheer is the longest one, if possible. Otherwise, whenever, inshallah. See, just go over it, inshallah, so you make sure that you understood this one, inshallah, so that we can push on tomorrow, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, any questions? Anything you didn't understand?
Alhamdulillah, understood it so far.
Alhamdulillah. See, Jazakallah. Jazakallah for your effort and for your time. And again, once again, ma for the delay, inshallah. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.